All right, if you're a .NET dev, you know the technical interview can feel like the final boss fight, right? But what if I told you most developers are losing that fight for a reason that has absolutely nothing to do with their coding skills? Today, we're going to break down the one single mistake that trips up almost everyone and how you can be in that top 10% that actually lands the job. So let's just let this number sink in for a second. 90%, that's the failure rate for .NET developers in technical interviews, according to our source. I mean, think about it. That's 9 out of every 10 people. We're talking developers with real on-the-job experience who are walking away with nothing. It's a huge number. So you got to ask, what is going on?
And here's the kicker. The reason for that crazy high failure rate, it's not what you think. It's not because they don't know .NET. It's not that they can't write code or that they haven't built real complex apps. Nope. The real problem is something else entirely, something way more fundamental.
Okay, so what's the real reason? It all comes down to what you could call a communication gap. Seriously, it's that space between what you know in your head and what you can actually get across to the interviewer. This is the thing that separates the "we'll let you know" from the "we'd like to make you an offer." Let's make this super clear. You might be a wizard at setting up middleware, but can you explain why the order of that pipeline matters so much? You probably use dependency injection all day, every day. But can you explain the problem it's actually solving and the difference between the lifetimes? See, that's the gap. It's not about what's in your brain, it's about what you can prove is in there with a clear, confident explanation. So this gets us to what the interviewer is really looking for. Get this, they're not just giving you a pop quiz on C# syntax. That coding challenge they give you, it's not just about whether you get the right output. The whole interview is a test of something way, way deeper. Interviewers are basically testing for these 3 things. And notice, none of them are syntax. First, they want to see your thinking. How do you actually attack a problem? They want to see your thought process. Second, clarity. Can you explain that process without tying yourself in knots? And third, architecture. Do you get the big picture? Do you understand how this one piece of code fits into the whole system? Nailing this is what makes you look like a senior engineer, not just a junior coder. Now, let's get specific. There are a few .NET concepts that are just notorious for exposing this communication gap. These are what I call the confidence killers. You know, the topics where if you stumble on the explanation, you can literally see the interviewer's confidence in you just evaporate. Here are the big 3. Number 1, middleware flow. Can you actually trace a request, step by step, as it travels through the ASP.NET Core pipeline? Number 2, dependency injection. Look, it's not enough to know what singleton, scoped, and transient are. Can you explain why you would pick one over the other in a real-world scenario? And number 3, async versus sync. Can you explain async and await beyond just saying, doesn't block the thread? If you fumble these, the interviewer immediately thinks your foundations are shaky. Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem, right? So what's the solution? Well, it's not grinding more lead code, and it's not cramming more syntax from a textbook. The real solution is a total mindset shift in how you prep for these things. It's about going from just being a doer to being an explainer. And this, right here, shows that shift perfectly. Over on the left, you've got what most of us practice: syntax, writing code, implementation details. But interview success, that lives over here on the right. Can you talk about architecture and data flow? Can you discuss the high-level concepts and, this is the big one, the trade-offs of different designs? That's where you win. I mean, this quote from our source says it all, doesn't it? The person who figured this out didn't just pass one interview. They cracked multiple. This is not a fluke. It's a system. Learning to explain what you know, that's the key. It's the cheat code that gets you through the door. So let's wrap this all up into one final, super important takeaway. As you get ready for your next interview, I really want you to burn this one idea into your mind. Here it is. Stop being a passive learner and become an active explainer. Instead of just watching another video on dependency injection, I want you to go to a whiteboard or even just a piece of paper and draw the whole thing out. Explain it out loud. To yourself, to your dog, I don't care. The act of actually saying the words and articulating the concept is what really cements it in your head. And that's it. The ball's in your court now. So don't just click away. Seriously, take a second and think about it. Of those 3 confidence killers we talked about, middleware, dependency injection, or async versus sync, which one are you going to practice explaining out loud today? Because making that choice and taking that first step, that's how you start your journey into that top 10%.